Hey guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. This evening I'm going to be doing another movie review. This movie is a horror film from the USA, English language, released in the year 2017, directed by Kevin Grotert, and this film is called Jackals. So Jackals is about this young man. He is a husband, he is a son, he's a brother, and he's been basically won over by a cult, and he's been brainwashed, and so he wants nothing to do with his family, and this in turn has really devastated his family. He's got a wife with a young son, and so she desperately wants him back, as is the case with the parents and the brother. And so they decide to hire this cult deprogrammer to kidnap this young man and take him to a remote cabin where the family are going to get together and they're going to try and win him over and make him see the errors of his ways. But that's going to be very difficult because one evening they realise that the cult has followed them and the cult wants this man back and they will stop at nothing to get what they want, and even if it results in bloodshed. And so the night is about to turn into a fight for survival, and whether or not they can not only get their loved one back but also stay alive is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on Jackals. I was expecting this film to be a generic run-of-the-mill house invasion movie, and unfortunately the biggest negative to Jackals is that it is exactly that. It's something you've seen before. It's not a movie that's going to spin the house invasion genre on its head. It's not something that's going to strike you with a lot of unique qualities that's going to win up a lot of awards. So if you go into Jackals expecting that, you're going to come away from this movie really disappointed and you're going to say that this is a really bad film. But if you go into Jackals expecting a really good time, I definitely think that you will be satisfied by what you get, and that's something that surprised me the most. I did not hate this film at all. In fact, I really enjoyed it for what it was. As I said, if you go into it expecting a movie that's going to really have a lot of unique twists, then basically stay away from this movie. But if you want a movie that does have a lot of attention to the details as far as creating an atmosphere is concerned, I definitely think this is very impressive, and that's, as I said, that's something that I wasn't expecting to say. And so I definitely see this as a movie that I can repeat viewing because it only goes for 80 odd minutes. If you're bored with a group of friends or you don't know what to watch, Jackals is definitely something that will make you satisfied, especially if you were a fan of this subgenre. Now what I liked about Jackals the most is that although it does have predictability in the formula, it's still a very, very creepy film. The cinematography is excellent. The majority of this film takes place at night. I thought the setting inside these woods was fantastic. I thought the cult were very, very creepy in the way that the camera is used in the introduction to this cult. I thought some of the camera shots were just something that was very, very eerie. And so because you have that level of predictability in the way that this formula takes its goes about its business, you still have that eeriness and that creepiness that creates the suspense through the screen. And that was something that I thought was very, very well done. And so this is not a lazy film at all. And a lot of these movies, they are cash grabs. And basically, you're going to repeat something like The Strangers, which this movie does take inspiration from, as is the case with pretty much every home invasion film. But unlike every other of those home invasion movies, this movie does have a lot of passion behind it. And so you've got the creepiness, you've got that slow anticipation of something really bad happening. It takes about 30 or 40 minutes to actually get into the horror set pieces. And so there is an attempt to actually give you an insight into this family, the damaged family, basically the heartache of losing a loved one to a cult. And this is something that does happen in real life, but it's not a movie that's taking itself seriously, but at least it's giving you an opportunity to get into the shoes of this family. And that's something that's trying to give you more threat as far as these people are concerned when bad things are happening. I don't think it really manages to succeed in what it's trying to do, but at least it's trying to do it. At least it's not a lazy film, and it's a movie that you can come away from thinking, okay, well, it's not something that was mind-blowing, but at least it was something that I was really satisfied spending 80 minutes watching. And so you've got some really nasty moments thrown in there for good measure, which is something I really liked. And I thought the end was really good. I'm not going to tell you what happens, but I thought that was fantastic. And so you've got predictability in the movie. You've got a movie that does play it safe, but on the other hand, because it's so eerily fantastic as far as cinematography is concerned, so as far as some of the camera shots that the director uses, because it's really good in that department, it feels as though it's a little bit different from your standard sort of home invasion film. And so if that makes sense, you've got a predictable story, but yeah, you've got a different kind of atmosphere. You've got a very tense and creepy environment that engulfs the viewer, and it prevents it from being boring. And that's something that, as I said, was the biggest surprise. And so if you are a fan of home invasion movies, then Jack Jackals is definitely one I would recommend. If you go into it with the right expectations, I definitely think this is going to impress a lot of people. It's very well made, it has suspense, has some really nasty moments as well, and it has an attempt at giving you an insight into the damage that a cult can actually do, as opposed to just standard sort of violence. It also has that psychological damage that I think the movie at least tries to depict. And so if that's this movie sounds like your kind of thing, definitely don't pass up the opportunity to watch it. As I said, especially if you are bored on a Friday night and you want a bit of fun, I definitely think Jackals is going to deliver. So overall, going to give this movie 3 stars. I came away from this movie liking it a lot more than I expected. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies and I'll see you later.